Morning, morning. How are you? So give some sign. How do you feel today? Are you ready for the work? Great. Yeah, thank you for joining. So traditionally, we are starting with the devotion, and we have prepared a short one for you. And actually, this is it. The inspiration came from the quotes about leadership you have shared at Stepik platform. And so I copied some of them so we can read them together and reflect a little bit. For example, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Or a leader is a negotiator of hope. I start with the premise that the function of leadership is to produce more leaders, not more followers. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. A leader is the best when people barely know he exists, when his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say. We did it ourselves. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. A good leader inspires people to have confidence in the leader. A great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves. So these are examples of some nice quotes you have chosen to illustrate the term of leadership. And when I was reading them, I observed that they are mostly about interaction with other people, about impact to communities, which is absolutely true. But somehow there was not so much about being a leader for yourself, being responsible for own lives, first of all, being capable, able, motivated to provide changes in own lives, first of all. And you probably now are constantly reading that like new skill set are coming, and our century and constantly changing time is provoking us to develop new set of skills. And for example, if we go to the World Economic Forum web pages, we can read like long lists of new leadership skills that requires nowadays. Yeah, that you should be constantly learning. You should be able to initiate critical thinking, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, flexibility, resilience, curiosity, we as a team, yeah, mentally, and so on and so forth. And this is actually pushing us for constant development, which is amazing, but somehow it can create also some pressure, some burden that, okay, this is like, again, we should be this and that and that. It's not always easy for young people. And just our course, yes, is also comprised of so much knowledge that sometimes we really want to give you. And we want really for inspire you to feel yourself, to understand yourself, to find your own way of learning, of developing, of finding your own leadership way. And we are giving you the tools. And we really hope that these tools will be helpful at some moment Probably not now, but in a year or in 5, you will recall, okay, so we were speaking about fundraising, we were speaking about governance, and this is something what I need to come back and to learn more. So we wish you to be harmonious in your development, in your leadership style, and in your leadership way. And today we are going to speak about governance. And so this is this is actually a set of skills. This is something what you need to understand what it is. And it's not, this is quite a difficult topic, but it's quite comprehensive. If you understand the basis of it, then you will manage it perfectly. I promised to show you the agenda. So I'm a little bit slow with sharing today. Yeah, so we are going, after warming up, yeah, we are going to speak about the governance. We will introduce some terms so you are not lost in the discussions. We will speak about the main governance principles or values. We are going to speak about risks of having poor governance. The last session will be devoted to the board meeting and responsibilities of board members. We suggest you a new time format for you today to try. We suggest to have 2 short breaks, which are lasting for 15 minutes. And each session will last approximately 1 hour. Are you okay if we try this new format with shorter breaks and really doing our best to finish 1 hour earlier? Okay, thank you. let's go for this experiment. All right. So before we start speaking about governance, do you have any specific questions? Because I can see that many of you were doing governance lessons on STEPIC. Thank you for it. This is essential because theory is there. I also noticed that some exercises were difficult this time. Have any specific questions on governance appeared after doing it, which you really want to find out today? Please type them or voice them. Sorry, I have missed many messages in the chat. If there is something urgent, please interrupt me, my dear colleagues, and let me know so I can shut up and give the floor to other people. Okay, any questions about governance? Any specific questions? If not, let's continue, and we'll start with a very short introduction on theory, speaking about the terms, because yes, we will be using them during the whole session. It's better we understand. So please help me. Yeah, please help me with it. Also, we are given here different words. Yeah, for example, when we tell conference, what do we mean? What is conference?
So this would be the meeting where All members are involved, so both volunteers, staff members, so any member of the organization.
Exactly, yeah. This is the main decision-making body, or you can meet such words as annual meeting, general meeting. In YMCA Europe, we are having General Assembly. In World YMCA, this is World Council, yeah. Many different words meaning the same, like the main decision-making body, the main meeting, the main conference. Board, yeah, or you can have such terms as National Council or Executive Committee in YMCA Europe or World YMCA. The president or the chairperson. Sometimes it means different things, sometimes it means the same, like you can meet both variants. Secretary General, yeah, you can meet NGS or SG, like Secretary General, or Chief Executive, or CEO, Chief Executive of the organization, or Executive Secretary, or just a director. Yeah, so this is a person who is having the function of being, of running like the key executive roles. And also,
may I say a word?
Sure,
You have yes, you have mentioned that, but it's important to know that in some YMCAs and in some organizations, they do call this general executive person the president. For example, that's what they do in the YMCA of the USA. So this position of the executive person, CEO, National Secretary General, or whatever, in some places it is really called president. But here, saying president, we mean the chairperson or the head of the board. So these two lines, they can be called whatever, but the main idea is that one of them is the leader of the board, a volunteer, and the other is a hired person, a director and a CEO, the head of the executive structure of the organization.
Tina, thank you.
Quite often people are confused about that when they hear president, but this is not the head of the board, but actually the CEO.
Tina, thank you so much. This is so crucial to underline, yeah, that president, this is a volunteer position as board members, yeah, and NGS is a hired person, and this is what we mean. In YMCA USA, they have a little bit different structure indeed. Who can explain what auditing committee means, or revisory committee, or revisory group? Just in simple words.
That's kind of group of people who check all documents, all financial reports, and yeah, that's the main aim.
Yes, Oля, thank you so much. Yeah, conference elects usually the board and auditing committee. So there is more accountability and transparency in the organization. So there is a body who can always make a kind of audit or check, or and this is also important that in many organizations, auditing committee does not exist, but organizations are hiring independent audit companies. So there is proper financial control of the organization. Any questions at this moment? All right, so let's have a look at some other terms. Constitution, I hope it's quite clear. Yeah, this is the main document which illustrates like the main purpose of the organization. If there is information in the chat, let me know, which I should know. Who can explain bylaws in simple words?
I'm sorry, there's a question from Ian, if auditing committee is specific to finance.
Is auditing committee, if, I didn't hear, I didn't catch.
If auditing committee is specific to finance, is it only about finances?
Yeah, good question. So by your experience, dear group, so what are other functions of auditing committee? If you have auditing committees in your organization, could you please comment?
I would maybe say something about this. I think it's mostly about the finances, but of course, there should be an understanding that the finances are have to be spent economically and purposefully. So they always have a right to ask, like, what did you do for this money? Was it spent for the real purposes, for the real programs? So in fact, this also leads us to some kind of effectiveness also in the program field and in the structure of the organization. So for me, it means that the auditing committee, they may have much deeper questions that only about the bills and the documents. So it's important also to check if the funds were spent for the good reasons, for the good programs, and for the effective structure of the organization. So I think it's much more than the finance only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Martina, thank you so much. And I also want to underline what Olga from Belarus was telling, because finally, auditing committee in YMCA Belarus has started working properly. And what from I can observe now that they, for example, they also see if the procedures, bylaws, politics are fulfilled properly. For example, if there is an open call, and according to the procedures, it should be like, this is the auditing committee which tells, hey, hello, you are breaking actually our internal rules. We have agreed here that it will be like this. Or, for example, if values of the organization are broken somehow, this is also a kind of a watching dog function. So the auditing committee rings the bell when something goes not according to the agreements which were created by the whole organization. And sometimes also it has a function of conflict resolution. When there is no understanding and kind of a court function should be done. So people actually can come to the auditing committee and ask them to solve this problem and resolve the conflict. I hope we Gabriel, I see you are raising the hand.
I'm a bit confused with the terms because I thought that the plan for 3 to 5 years, it's related to the strategic plan.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Olga, there is a mix constitution of the strategic plan, and the description should be.
Absolutely. Thank you for you being attentive. You know, I was doing it in the evening.
But it was a good exercise.
Yeah, me as well. I thought I thought it was a trick.
I thought it was a trick for us to.
Yes, sure, that was a trick. You're absolutely right. That was a trick. Thank you for being attentive. Yeah, of course. And you see, I'm reading, and you have noticed it, of course. Yeah. So the Constitution, yes, a key document which actually outlining like the purpose, the type of the organizations, key legal principles. Yeah, and it also describes how organization is governed. Okay, but let's come back. I think with the Constitution and strategic plan, it's quite clear, yeah, because we were talking about it on governance. But let's speak about bylaws and try to explain in simple words, because that can be tricky. Like, what kind of bylaws do you have in your organization? Can you bring any examples? Ian, can you name any that you have in your Y?
I'm not 100% sure, like really sure of specific ones, but would they be things like maybe terms for board members to serve, type thing? That be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So like for us, like our chairperson or president of the board is like a 4-year term.
Mm-hmm.
Serve.
Do you distinguish bylaws from procedures or politics, or do you just have bylaws? Because different organizations are using different words.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, thank you. Because like bylaws usually unite the rules which are not in the constitution, because you cannot change the constitution all the time. This is quite difficult. You need to re-register it then, and changes in the constitution. This is quite a heavy stuff. But bylaws and the procedures and politics can be created. And they usually describe functions of governing bodies, or they describe some algorithm, like procedures, for example, a procedure how to hire a secretary general, or procedure how to run elections. And politics, they're usually about some values, like politics on an ecology, or politics on safety for kids. And for non-native speaker, I think it is important to pay attention at the word minutes. This is not about time. So this is minutes. This is the documents which contain, which you are actually writing when you are having any kind of a meeting. So it contains main decisions. Questions, comments?
It was really interesting for me finding the politics document, because I didn't know that it could exist, such document. But on the other hand, I always felt kind of the need in our Y, so a part of the constitution, having another document outlining our stand towards different topics, important topics, which we left. So this, I think, is something that will help our Y. Maybe we can propose this to our Y, for a group of people to come up with a document such as this.
Thank you, Gabriel, for sharing. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear it, that it was helpful to you. Thank you so much. Yes, in STEPIC, there are some examples of the documents. You can have a look, and definitely sometimes we even do not even think that whistleblowing policy exists. I didn't know what it is like 2 years ago, but this is curious. Have a look at it. All right.
Maybe Olga, sorry. I can tell you a very short story about this, what happened in France on a General Assembly, because this illustrates a little bit what's the difference between the constitution and the bylaws. We had a bunch of young people there, very active from the YES group, and somehow the General Assembly there wasn't going well. There were some problems with the organization, but also with the programs, and people just couldn't agree. And it was a little bit of mess, I have to admit. And these young people, they sit down and wrote, okay, guys, we are not very happy, and we want to suggest a better way how to run the General Assembly. So they sit down and wrote like A4 paper how the General Assembly should be done and should be run in very detailed way, like who is going to lead what, and how the procedures should be, so it's much more clear and transparent. and they came on the last day. I said, okay, we suggest this change of the constitution, and please vote for this change of the constitution and add this to the General Assembly part. Of course, in 5 minutes, it was very clear that this is not the constitutional change. This is, and it is of course not possible to approve this procedure, because also the constitution has certain rules, and the changes for the constitutions should be always sent to the national movement 6 weeks before the General Assembly. So of course this is not possible. So in fact, and it was also very clear that this is not this does not belong to the constitution. So in fact, after a few minutes, it was decided that, of course, the change of the constitution cannot be done at this moment, but they are free to reformulate it once again and submit it as a bylaw for the next General Assembly. Just for you to also to understand that in the constitution there is a paragraph about the General Assembly, but it's a very short one, just explaining very shortly what the main function is. And if there is any kind of procedures which should be described in details, it should be in a bylaw. And this is also the practical point of view. It's difficult to change the constitution. It should be agreed, it should be formulated at least how many weeks before the General Assembly. And very often it should be registered by some kind of ministry. So the constitutional changes, for example, in YMCA Europe, we have to go to the Ministry of Interior and register every change of the institution. And of course, the procedures are changing quite often. So in fact, just to be flexible, we have the bylaws. So it's much easier to change them than the constitution. So this is also the reason why we are not putting details in the constitution.
Yeah, thank you, Martina. Great example to illustrate. All right, so now we will let you speak. And Tina, I will ask you for technical help. I will continue sharing the screen. Could you please help me with the next exercise technically? We are going to make agree-disagree exercise, and the link to the Jamboard will appear now. And it's like the same, your names are still there. Find yours, and and we will read the statements. Tina will help to change them.
It's just
so yeah, and then we will ask you why you have taken this or this position. And the first statement is already here. Board members should receive a kind of financial reward or bonus or compensation, choose any word that you know, for the work in the board. So it's okay that if board receives, or board should receive some kind of a financial reward or bonus for their work in the board. Please think, go to the link. Tina, do you need help with it?
Do you want me to put the statements in the chat, or
first the link to the chat?
Yes, I'm doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and when we have the next statement, I will ask you to copy. Thank you. I'm with one computer today. It's not super handy. So So board members should receive some kind of a financial reward, compensation. Okay, so remember that while we are presenting our arguments, you can change your opinion, it's okay. So let's start with those who agree. Natalia, what are your arguments?
I think, for example, the person they do all with money had a lot of work, and I think this person can be a bonus or a financial rewards.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Other people can volunteer they do this work. But the person with the money is, I think, is very difficult and need a lot of time, for example.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I see your point. Thank you. Anna?
I just think that all the work should be paid, and as Natalia said, it has much responsibility to make some decisions, and it is quite time consuming as I think. So it must be avoided, so that effort that the person puts into work are like gained back, so to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Lucy?
I agree with what was said. I believe it's important job, and when people are receiving some compensation, some reward for the job, they are better in it because they have higher motivation, and they can also afford to put more time in the job because they don't like everyone has to pay for their expenses. So if I'm receiving a reward for job, even in non-profit organization or for my position in board, I can afford to put more time in it and more of my capacities.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Alba, do you have any new other arguments?
Sorry, I was talking to the kids, but I've heard Anna's argument and I totally agree with her.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
Nikas?
Yeah. Yes. So I am only down with the compensation part. So I don't really agree with reward or bonus part.
What do you mean by compensation?
So compensation is basically if you will have to, in order to fulfill your role in the board, if you will have to spend some money, for this work specifically, then you should be given that money, because for like you shouldn't have paid it in the first place if you weren't in the board. All right, so that's my my place on this, and that's because as a lot of people said, it's a non-profit organization, it's something you do voluntarily. So I don't believe that I mean, it is work, you have responsibility, but you opted in to that because you want to help the community and have a part in it. So for me, I wouldn't want to get paid, but only compensated just for the reason I talked about before.
Thank you, Nikas. So let's hear some opinions of those who disagree. Gwen?
To be honest, I'm a bit struggling to make up my mind. At first I was like totally disagree. I'm first like, yeah, we are with regard to finances, we all struggle. So that's already something. It's more money that needs to be spent and needs to be included in the budget. And I'm also very concerned that I don't know, somehow that could lead to some conflict of interest or something. But hearing all the yes and stuff, I'm like, that also makes sense. So I don't know.
Thank you. Juliet?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, because it's a how to say it's because it's not an NGO, it's not a commercial organization. The thing that somebody will get paid, like, is possible, but I don't think that it's board members, because they are like up high in the system and they decide like where money go, for example. So if they will get paid as Granelle, I'm sorry, as Granelle said, there will be a conflict of interest. It can appear. And also about what Nikas said before, the compensation. Here, I believe it says compensation for their work, not like for money that they personally put into the project or something like that. And of course, if the person puts their own money that were not supposed to be there, that can be like compensated, recompensated. But I don't think that's about the work. It's only about like one-time thing that happened, and usually that's not happening.
Yeah, thank you. Iana?
Yeah, for me, also board members are volunteers. I don't think anyone, at least in our board in YMCA Turku, is there because they want to get compensated. They are there because they want to make sure that YMCA Turku is the best it can be. So I don't think, yeah, everybody knows it's a volunteer job. So I don't think you need any financial reward or anything for that. We do get small Christmas presents, but they are like really small, and just the thought is the most important thing behind it.
Yeah, thank you. Ian, maybe hear you as well?
Yeah, I think just the role that the board plays within the organization, I think as just said, like to make it's like an advisory and guidance type role, and it's a voluntary position, so it could potentially, or it avoids, by being a voluntary position, it avoids like sort of conflict of interest and sort of ambiguity around finances and sort of direction. They're responsible for guiding and looking after an organization that has a unique position in terms of being able to apply for funding, charitable status. So I think it sort of just keeps everything sort of above board and right. And also I think like whenever like I suppose like I have a bit of a personal story. Like my wife Lynn last year got involved in YWCA in Ireland, and very like so sort of just got involved in it. But at this point, she's now the president from sort of a month ago, and because of the situation that's going on, there's a lot of work involved from the board in recruiting a new sort of general secretary. So there's a lot of work, but it's voluntary, because of the position that board holds. So usually there's not that much work for the board to do on a daily or a weekly or monthly basis. It's kind of in the background, and that's where they appoint the CEO and the operational team to do the actual work. So I think all those things.
Yeah, thank you. Any other volunteers who hasn't spoken yet want to speak?
I feel it's a complex issue in the sense that, in one sense, if we want to facilitate the inclusion of younger generation, it would make sense a form of compensation, because obviously they are still they might be struggling a bit more with their daily living. So it's a way how to facilitate the involvement of younger people, and also young people from the target group. So that would be my kind of argument for some kind of compensation. On the other hand, as Ian said, like in most organizations, there is the operational team and there is the CEO who are paid to do the daily job. And the board member would have like a commitment, which would be at most a weekly commitment. But on the other hand, I know that in small organizations, the board would be doing most of the job. So in very small wise, the board would be doing most of the job. So that's why I feel that some people think that there should be a kind of compensation because they are also doing the operational work in truth.
Thank you.
There's a comment. Sorry, there's a comment in the chat from Anna. I'm more confused. It really is NGO and volunteering. Maybe it does depend on amount of work you do for the board.
Yeah, and this is what Gabriel was telling, that indeed sometimes board does a lot of work and does operational work because there are not enough staff people. But you need to understand that these are two different chairs, yeah, two different hats that you are wearing. So you are acting as a board member, this is one role. But if you decide, yeah, to take some operational job on your shoulders, this is a different role and you agree to do it voluntarily, but this is a separate role. Please take these roles as two different hats. It can be easier for you then to distinguish what you are doing as a board member and what you are doing as a volunteer, because there are not so many staff people. Tina, I see that you are taking quite extreme disagree position. Could you please comment?
Do I? I think I just didn't move my my card.
But anyway.
Actually, I do disagree because I heard some of the guys said that any work should be paid. On the one hand, this was one argument. The other argument was that we are a voluntary organization, and if we are members of the YMCA, we should do everything voluntary. And I actually do disagree with both of these positions. I disagree that in a non-governmental or non-commercial organization or a voluntary organization, everybody should do work voluntary. That's not true. If people are signing a contract and they are doing their job professionally and they come to NGO to do, I don't know, finances, operating work, to lead a camp, to clean the premises, whatever, certainly they should be paid for this work. And I strongly disagree with position number one, that every work should be paid, because certainly not. Like, we are not being paid for, I don't know, being parents for our kids or for being friends for our friends and so on. And being on board of an NGO is this kind of a position. This is something you are not being paid for. You're not signing a contract for that, and you're taking your responsibilities voluntary. And that's your decision. Nobody forces you to do that. And I think it's important. I'm sorry, I don't remember like all the arguments who said what, but there was one of the messages about the conflict, I think from Juliet, about the conflict of interest. And I strongly agree that being a paid government, you actually jump into conflict of interest. So person who is paying you money can actually influence your decisions. And it's very important that the board is absolutely independent and that the board's decisions are based only on their knowledge of constitution and their strategic plan and their vision of their organization. So if somebody is paying them for doing this job, certainly it influences their decisions.
Yeah, thank you so much. Martina?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Tina, basically. Just 2 points I want to add. Sometimes it happens, as some of you mentioned, that the board member is asked to do some kind of specific task, but this should be very clear and transparent that this is extra work And with this work, usually the most transparent is just to have another contract with the board member, but the contract which is under the management structure, if there is a kind of the expert work which should be done outside of the board, but if there should be a clear line, like what is the expert work which should be paid and what is the voluntary work for the board, and it should not be missed. If the organization is not able to keep the transparency in this, it's better not to do it at all and not to include board members into the management structure. Actually, I'm saying this because it happens once to me. I was a board member of the National Youth Council in Slovakia. And there was some job because and then I was replacing the president, and for some time I had to do some extra job. But as I said, for this I had a special contract with another within the management structure, not to mix my duties at the board. But as I said, it's not happening very usually in the YMCA, and I think it should be very clear and transparent that the board is a voluntary work. Another issue is the compensations. I strongly agree with that, especially with some organizations, because especially it may cause the discrimination, especially on the European level, when the travel costs to the board meetings are very high. We have to compensate them, otherwise we will discriminate people who are living far away and do not have money to pay their travel costs to the board meetings. So in fact, it is.
Martina, your sound is off. Martina, your sound is off. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I agree with the compensation, especially not to be discriminatory, and okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
It's disconnecting. Okay, so all the board members are allowed to come to the board meetings without any financial problems. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, let's go to the second statement. Yes, so we were speaking about conflict of interests and also division of power. Yeah, so please keep in mind those two key principles of the democratic governance: absence of conflict of interest and division of power. And the next statement is coming.
Yes, here it is in the chat, and we are not changing it on Jamboard. Or
we change. Yeah, could you please change it?
Yes, yes, I will change it. Just a moment. Can you read it while I'm changing it? Mm-hmm.
If the president is excellent in her or his performance, it will be good for organization if he could be re-elected again for as many terms as needed. So if the president, the chair, is absolutely excellent, it's quite okay. It will be good, beneficial for organization if this person is re-elected again to as many terms as needed. All right, so we are not so much different in our opinion. Natalia, could you please share your arguments? Okay. Okay, then we actually have Anna and Lucy who are hesitating. So Anna, could you please share?
Again, I'm confused because if it works, let it work more. But I think that sometimes when everything's good, we don't know for sure that it might be even better if something changes. So probably, yeah, just like this. It might be even better if we change the person. Maybe he or she should be elected for like 2 times, but then he or she shouldn't.
Yeah, thank you. Lucy?
Yeah, I believe it depends. Like when it's a big organization with like a lot of money, I believe it could be quite harmful. But if it's like tiny YMCA and I'm working like in my own town, I think there are cases in which it could be okay, but in general, I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Nea, could you please share your position?
Yeah, I was thinking about this quite a lot because in my YMCA we have had the same president for a long time. He's really good. But I think also the fact that there's kind of no limit on how many times he can be the president, it kind of makes it passive that we don't even try to see if we could get a new person into that role. So I think it's a bit, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that you have the same person in the board for a long time as a president, but I think there should be kind of changing the position frequently, as in I think all like board roles, there should be like new people coming in, because that's also a bit harmful to the organization if you have like, let's say, one president for 10 years and how to find a new person to that, because there's no like rotation at all.
Yeah, no culture of succession indeed. Yeah, thank you. Olga?
Yeah, I strongly disagree with its points because I also think that even if it's such a good president, it's important to change. It's a give opportunity, firstly, to change kind of flow of the organization, and from other hand, it's bring diversity. It's develop that other person also kind of good for all members. It's bring new issues, new stage probably of development.
Yeah, thank you. Tuula, can we listen to you?
Yes, I'll keep my camera off. My Zoom is not working today very well, but I put myself more on the disagree side, but still kind of on the fence, because I also kind of agree what everyone else has already said, that if there's only kind of, well, obviously it's not only one person that can do a good job, but if there's someone who does the job really well and maybe there are no kind of other people who want the job, why not? But then again, I also think it's really important for kind of the rotation, like Nea also said, that kind of it keeps moving and it doesn't get passive. And also, even if one president kind of does a good job, you know, the work that he or she has done, I mean, it's not like it just disappears when a new person is elected. Like there are records of good conduct and stuff like that. So other people can also learn from good presidents, even if, or I don't know how to put it in words, but it's not like it happens in isolation, every single president. So I think rotation is really important for it to keep moving.
Thank you. Any other volunteers?
May I say?
Please.
On the one hand, I know some examples of very successful organizations where the president was there for like years For example, YMCA Hanover in Germany, and it's a very strong and very successful, by all means, YMCA, and they had a president for like 20 years, and they were very happy with that. But on the other hand, I think we shouldn't overestimate the figure of the president. It's great to have a good president, but if we have a good governing structure, the president doesn't really decide much. Of course, yes, he's leading the board meeting, or she's leading a board meetings and taking some decisions and organizing the work in the board and so on. But if you have a strong board and good executive structure, even if you have a very, like, I don't want to give any like bright characteristics, but if you have a president that doesn't fulfill all the criteria of a good president, the organization will still be working fine, and it wouldn't be a big trouble. I think the figure of the president becomes very important when the organization is not very healthy, when it's a weak organization, and the president is the only person who the whole organization stands on. If it's not like that, and we don't want it to be like that, when the figure of the president is not that important, and of course it's great to have a rotation and to give different people chances, because this person like cannot really affect that much.
Yeah, indeed, Tina, thank you. And then also there are quite many risks. Yeah, there is a risk about that the organization doesn't have a culture of succession. Yeah, so, and new leaders do not appear. Why to dream to be the president if this position is taken? And also there is a risk of abuse of power, actually, because sometimes when we are at the position for a long time, we start acting in a different manner. Just we can start using this power. Any other arguments?
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yes, please.
To begin with, I'd like to strongly agree with Tina. I think that's the most important criteria about the president changing, because it's like when you have a strong, a very good president for such a long period of time, then the whole, I mean, everybody that's under him becomes numb. Okay, they become relaxed that we can always lean towards the president. He's going to make things right. It's like, we're not in danger of doing anything wrong. So this becomes problematic in the long term, because like, as you said, a good structure is something that's stable and can pass through time, and will not be dependent on the next generation. Because what I'm thinking is that, okay, we have an excellent president for like 20 years or something, but this person is not immortal. So in some period he will have to retire. Okay, so there's no guarantee that there will be a replacement. Whereas if there is a strong structure that can support moving forwards repeatedly, then it's not going to matter. You don't focus on the person, on one specific person. The weight is dispersed in many places, so it can be supported equally.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Nigas. Exactly. And it is the same as with the Secretary General. Sometimes so much is like to put, we say, to put all eggs in one basket. Yeah. Sometimes so much is put on one person. And when a person, president or Secretary General, disappears, leaves, organization disappears. This is a huge threat. And Juliet.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to add something about like the strong organization. If the system is working and we have like a new president every few years, then there is a system. There's a system to to teach those who want to be a president, and there's like the way for those who have already become the president to came back to the organization and not be like out of it because it's like reached their top position that can be there. But if the same person stays on the top for a long time, then there's no this system because nobody new is going for the same spot, and that means that when this person going to, I don't know, go somewhere, let's put it this way, there will not be any kind of system to replace him because there was no like teaching those who want to be on the same spot.
Yeah. Thank you. Gwen?
Something else that I wanted to add is that we need to, if this option is there, that president is really good and he can be re-elected as many terms as possible and it's good for the organization. Okay, let's imagine. But then it means that this option is there for every single president of the organization, and maybe the next one will be very bad at his job, but then, I don't know, maybe people just like him and they keep on re-electing him. So yeah, totally disagree.
Yeah, thank you, Gwen. Okay, yeah, thank you for your opinions. Let's jump to the next statement. Yes, and it's actually the same as it was on STEPIC. It is important to elect only experienced people to the board. Yeah, there was some interesting arguments in STEPIC. I'm not sure that you are coming back and reading them all after writing yours. So let's discuss it very quickly. I think it's important that you voice them. Okay, I see that positions are not so much different. Tina, I know that. Tina, let's start with you. What are your strong arguments?
Okay, of course, I surely think that there should be very different people in the board, and it's very important to have young people on the board and so on. But I just thought that certainly we need in the board, it's important to have people with different capacities. And being experienced doesn't mean being experienced in governance. We can have people who are absolutely not experienced in governance on the board, and that's great, a great chance to get this experience. But they should be experienced at least in something. And if they're young people who are just starting their governance career, so to say, or governance practice, they might be experienced, I don't know, in online working instruments, or like in urbanistics, or in anything else to make this board like a working structure. So I think it's important for the people on the board to have different experiences, but to have this experience in different spheres. So that's my.
Yeah, I think like a set of skills needed for the board work. Yeah.
Yeah, and then certainly it shouldn't necessarily be experience in governance. It can be experience in any other sphere.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's listen to people who disagree. Alba?
I think that, I mean, of course, if you have experience, you can participate better in this kind of activities on the board. But if you never get the opportunity to get on the board, you're never going to have the experience. So I guess a good way to start is without experience, and then you start to have your own experiences, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Raise your hands if you want to voice your opinion. Gabriel, what do you think?
Actually, I totally agree with the argument that Tina exposed, and that's why I went to the disagree, in the sense that the question is tricky, or the statement. So we're not speaking of people who have no experience in anything. What I understand by the statement is experience in terms of years. So years of experience in being a board member or in administrative positions. So what I feel is that we don't need to take that as a standard. So length of service, but yes, a person needs to have an experience in something. So so I would agree also with Alba's argument. So if you're experienced in leading groups or have had some little administrative experience, you can be given a chance to be in the board. But you have to have you need to bring something to the board, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Juliet?
Yes, this time I can do really short. I can just say that a person can bring something to the board if the person is even not experienced. Maybe if the person is just young and just knows the like interested of the young people, or I don't know, like some specific of this generation, that's already helpful and that already will make board work. How do you know how to say it? Like, but just like say better than when if this person was not here.
Natalia, could you please share? Thank you, Juliet.
I think this word only is not good, because I think it's better we balance more people with experience, but young people can learn. I agree the answer from Alba.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Any other volunteers to share? Martina, why are you here? What's your position?
In fact, I have nothing new to add. All the arguments are done, but I, of course, agree that we should always have some people who don't have the relevant board experience. Of course, I agree that that if the people run for the election, they have to have some kind of experience, but I take it more that this should be a board experience, and I would let always people who maybe don't have this experience but still can be active and good enough to work in the board.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, when we're speaking about governance, yeah, one of the main principles is succession. Yeah, succession. So, and although the skills presented at the board are crucial, super important, yeah, but succession is the key issues, the key element. Otherwise, the organization will not continue if new leaders are not coming, if new leaders are not educated. And of course, the board is about the balance. In some organizations, there is even the rule in bylaws that which is telling about the age, which is telling about the gender balance, and also it can tell about the number of terms in the board. So this is healthy if those people who were already in the board before are elected, and also like 50% or 30% of those who haven't been to the board are elected. So there is a balance of those who had experience in the board as well. Thank you. Thank you for your opinions. And the last statement in this exercise.
Just a moment.
It is a possible practice that President and Secretary General is the same person. So it's quite okay, it's good, it's possible that the President and Secretary General is the same person. it is a good practice, it is a possible practice, it's okay that these two positions, roles, are performed by the same person. Not a big change. It's a big... Okay, so actually almost everyone disagree. Okay, let's listen to your opinions. Why are you were at this position? But first, let's give the floor to Tina to tell why she thinks it might be
No,
okay.
let me not be first, okay?
Okay, good. Then I will not ask you. So who wants to so who wants to share? Ian, maybe you?
Yeah, I think again, just with the conflict and the issues around like the authority and responsibilities and the power, like one's operational, one sort of that guided sort of strategic and direction type thing. I think it's like it doesn't make sense to have them as the same people because it opens it up to sort of that abuse of position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Juliet, raised your hand. Please,
Yeah, I
girl.
can just say that that's definitely not really good thing, but I just know that in reality it happens sometimes. That's like all I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
That was certainly my position as well. That of course it's not a healthy practice, but unfortunately sometimes it happens.
Yes, it does. Yes, and at some moments there are even some benefits of it. Tuula, do you want to share? Tuula, do you want to share?
Tuula is greedy, she doesn't want to share. I'm sorry.
Nea, maybe you?
Yeah, I was thinking about the things that already people said that it's not a good practice in my opinion, but sometimes if there's no other choice. But I think there is quite a strong like conflict of interest if you're the president and the secretary general, because kind of then we go back to the first question that you're being paid to do the work and then paid to make the decisions that affect your work.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so similar with the first statement. This is again about conflict of interest and division of power. Yeah. So,
and I think this is such a like big role also that, you know, you make decisions about like hiring people and such, and then I don't know, I guess you kind of lose the accountability if there's not like a president on the board and the board who kind of criticize if you make bad decisions, then you're just kind of answering to yourself, which is not always a good case.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning. Yeah, absence of accountability. Yeah, this is also a crucial element of any governance. Yeah, accountability. So the Secretary General, who is he then accountable to whom he reports? Yeah, division of power is broken. Thank you so much. So I suggest that we summarize our discussions shortly in a series. These slides actually are presented on Stepik, but this is an opportunity to have a look at it. But before it, we have opinion or question from Nikos.
Yeah. So because I'm unfamiliar with the terms like president and secretary general, and some people said that in some situations it might be even beneficial. So can you elaborate a bit on this, because I have no experience on it and I would like to learn more.
Who can comment on it? Who have seen any experience of it, observed, or had in the organization, and can speak about it?
Because, for example, like I can only say that I disagree because of the conflict of interest, but I don't really have an argument about it, and I would like to have an opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. Gabriel, maybe you know, because I know that in Malta there was some kind of a similar situation, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken.
Yes, unfortunately, some years ago. No, it's not a good practice, because basically you are reporting to yourself in that case, basically. So you are both the chair of the board that takes long-term decisions, but also the person who is implementing those decisions on a day-to-day basis and managing the team. So I was really young and not that involved in the workings of the organization at that time, but I could see that this wasn't really the most, how can you say, transparent way of governance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But Nikos, of course, this is super convenient. This is super convenient to work with yourself, to report to yourself. Like it cuts the time for communications. It cuts the time for agreeing on things, for discussion. I mean, of course, like it saves a lot of energy, and sometimes you are even more efficient because you are like, you know what you are doing and you are moving towards the goal, and that's it, without any like partnership discussions, communications, and so on. But this is so much dangerous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, if we'll go like back to the reality, it's better than one person is on two positions than is like one position is taken and other is not really happening at all. So it's better to have like one person making two positions than one position missing at all.
Yeah, I mean that we were discussing types of leadership and static, and you were telling that sometimes, yeah, authoritarian leadership is so good when you need to take fast decision, when no discussion is important, when there is no place for democracy, the urgent situations. But when we are speaking about non-governmental organization, yeah, who are actually bearers, holders of democratic values by themselves, we are speaking about democratic governance. And if we look actually at the word governance itself, yeah, and find different terms, we will see that the term, explanation of this term itself contains that it is about sharing of decision-making authority, that it is a transparent decision-making process in which the leadership of a non-profit organization is shared in an effective and accountable way. And that this is a distribution of decision-making power between different governing bodies. So you see, so even the term governance already contains like the key values, key principles of democratic governance. And the main are division of power, when power is not concentrated in hands of one person. Transparency in all processes, when everything is clear to everybody, in laws, in communication, how decisions are taken, in finances. Accountability, when there is a system that people actually report on what they're doing. This is closely connected with the transparency, but it is about being accountable, reporting, telling that, okay, I have done this, I have spent money like this, and so on. Representation and inclusiveness. Yeah, we were speaking that target groups actually should be represented in different governing bodies. gender, age, experience. Succession and empowerment. Succession is crucial, otherwise organization will die if people leave it by any reason. And of course, just it is crucial to be legal in everything that you are doing, as that everything is documented. The examples are put in this topic. Please read them carefully, and I'm sure that now you can make the exercise which is suggested there properly. But for example, division of power. Staff cannot vote at board members, because this is a conflict of interests. The auditing committee is existing, or audit is done by independent body. This is also example of division of power. Accountability. Staff reports to the board. There are annual public reports, which is telling what services are done for communities, how money of members are spent. So this is also about accountability. Transparency. For example, there are open calls with clear criteria for any opportunity. If you need to select the delegates, it should be super clear how you are selecting them. That there should be opportunity for people to go for this call. And communication should be super clear for everyone. How membership fees are spent. Representation and inclusiveness, some examples. Target groups are represented in the board. There are equal opportunities for all members. And there is inclusiveness policy, for example. If to talk about succession, you can think about what you have in your vice. But for example, even the position of vice president can be one of the small examples that people think about succession. The term of president is limited, and there should be a good system of leadership and governance education, so people know what it is and can actually come to the board prepared. This is easy. Everything should be legal. There should be contracts. People should be hired with the contracts, and all acts should be according to the constitution and all the laws, all the working documents in order. You see that governance is about agreements, constant agreements, which are discussed and put to the documents. So if you, this is a constant process, this is a constant journey. Please do not be afraid of it, but if you think about those principles and values, so everything will be easy for you. Just if you are hesitant about something, just think, okay, is it transparent? Is it legal? Do we discuss it together? Is it accountable? So this is a typical structure. On STEPIC, you have actually, most of you have chosen the right variant. Please pay attention, that this is a kind how division of power is introduced, that there is conference that can decide actually anything, because these are members and they delegate power to the board. They choose the board and they delegate to the power of checking, to the auditing committee. Or there is a rule that independent audit is hired. This is what you know. So I do not want to go about to the functions actually, but do you have questions about the functions of these governing bodies? Who is doing what? Because there were some difficulties in the exercises. please think, do you understand what board is doing? What executive power is doing, what conference is doing, and we already covered the main functions of the auditing committee.
I personally think that right now I have it more clear than I have it yesterday, because yesterday I was trying a billion times and I couldn't find the right answers. But maybe when I start to do the exercise again, I will have more questions probably.
Yeah, I stop on this because I understand there were really like many questions on it and quite many wrong answers. So let's spend 1 minute actually. So who is doing what? Who selects the board? Just tell it.
Conference.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the conference. Yeah, this is clear. Who
You can
ensures?
speak up or write in the chat, and I will read it if you do so.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Who ensures discussion of values? Ensures that the values of the organizations are discussed. Ensures that this process is taking place.
Is it the board?
Yes, Nika, this is the board. Yeah, thank you. Creates efficient system of communication. Creates, makes it work. Yeah, this is tricky. Yeah, because I guess that might be difficult for you.
Staff, maybe?
Yeah, mostly, yeah, when we are speaking about that something is in place, creates, this is mostly like staff is doing. But of course, like board can ensure, yeah, efficient system of communication and can notice that it's not perfect and delegate staff to create it. Thank you. For example, if you need to remind the board to provide minutes, who can do it?
I had a question because my options are different. This question with the system of communication have not in mind. I have not seen before.
You didn't see this lesson?
Yes, but with other answer, other question.
I see where is the problem. There was a change we agreed to make. And so maybe you have the old version because Natalia is right.
Ah.
I cannot see it in my refreshed version, so maybe.
I'm very sorry about this technical issue. Yeah, so maybe this is the reason why there are so many wrong answers.
Yeah, and this is also why we skip this question, because I also pointed out that this is not clear.
I see. I'm very sorry about it.
Yeah, I'm also looking at my version at this moment, and Natalia is right. It is not there in the final version.
Thank you so much. Yeah, but let's go quickly for the sake of understanding of the functions. So if we usually, who can remind the board to provide minutes if they like do not do it in time? Let's do it quickly.
Would it be the auditing committee?
Auditing committee, yeah, sure. So it checks financial reports regularly.
The committee, maybe?
Yeah, auditing committee, like this is direct function of them, sure. Who can liquidate organization?
This I really got me confused, because like in commercial companies, it should be the auditing, I guess.
No, but if it is NGO.
This case, the conference, maybe, you know.
Only conference. So this case is very straightforward. So only conference, actually they are creating organization. So this is only conference annual meeting who can liquidate organization.
Do not forget that the liquidation is the obligatory part of the constitution in any country. So this is something what has to be in the constitution, and the constitution is in the conference, in the competence of the conference or the annual general assembly or whatever.
Mhm. Who creates committees?
Board.
Board, yeah, sure. Who creates operational plan?
Staff.
Yep. Who is managing projects?
Staff too.
Who is hiring Secretary General?
Board.
Yes, this is the board. Yeah, sometimes it should be approved by conference, sometimes not according to the laws, but mostly the board. And who can change the mission?
Conference.
Conference, yeah, sure, because like this is quite a big important decision. Okay. All right, thank you so much for this session. If there are no any comments or questions, we are making the break now, and we are coming back in 15 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Можно я покажу картинку потом? Ты замьючена, Оль.
Олечка, ты без звука.
Прости, пожалуйста, слушай, тут, да, как-то она все ушла. А что за картинка?
Сейчас я покажу.
Может быть, в конце, как, про
Давай.
что она?
Ну, давай я покажу сейчас, как это сделать. Сейчас. Смотри, я в чат отправила.
Спасибо. Ну, слушай, напиши, пожалуйста, почему ты ее хочешь показать, какой мысли привязать. Напиши в чатик, чтобы мы не болтали здесь. Вот, и тогда в конце тогда покажем.
Я просто в начале, когда был Devotion, просто хотела сказать, что там куча всяких этих сложных мыслей, но типа главное...
Да, но мы опоздали просто, прости,
да,
что я не увидела.
Ничего, все хорошо.
Спасибо, простите.
Ничего.
So we have just talked about the governance, key principles, values of the governance. And then now we are going to speak about possible risks if those principles are not followed properly. What might happen? And if Tina is ready, I'm happy to give the floor to you.
Yes, I'm ready. And our next session will be devoted to risks of poor governance. And we know, I think now everybody understands, no matter if you have experience in governance or if you have not so much experience in governance, now it's quite obvious to anybody that governance is quite a complicated process. And I haven't seen probably any organization where everything goes perfect. There are always some cases, some situations when something goes wrong, something is not perfect, something goes not the way that it should be. But being part of this governance structure, we are trying to do our best to make it work as good as possible. So now we will devote some time to exploring the risks of bad governance, different situations that may happen in any organization, and try to identify what are the risks of these situations. So now we will be united in 4 small groups, and Olga will help us to get together in the meeting rooms. And each group will have 2 cases. This will be different situations which any of us can actually face in our organizations. And your task is to look at these situations, to discuss them, and to list
just by numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, and that's it. What could be the causes? What could be the outcomes of these situations? What could be the risks of the situations? What can go wrong if we have these situations? Maybe nothing will go wrong, and this is also an option. You may say that there's no risks, and it's okay. Or if you see some risks, please list them. Each group will have 2 different cases, 2 different situations, and we will ask you to try to do that in 10 minutes. If you manage, that's perfect. If you need some more time, we'll give you some more time for that. But let's try to do that in 10 minutes, like 5 minutes for each situation. And yes, thank you very much, Olga. There's the link to Jamboard, and you will see 4 different pages there for group 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I hope that it will be obvious who is who, which group you are in.
If it's not obvious, call us, we will tell you. Yeah, but this is according to the numbers, very easy. And if there are no questions about the task,
there's one more small remark. Please choose someone within your group who will then present the results of your work, because then we will have a presentation session and we will kindly ask you to share what you have discussed. Okay?
Cool, let's go then.
Welcome back. Did you have a good discussion? Okay, so now let's share the results with everybody. So please, we give the floor to group number 1, and you can follow them on Jamboard if you just swap the pages. Oh yes, or thank you for sharing the screen. We can see it all together.
Yeah, okay.
Number 1, the floor is yours.
Yeah, we agreed that I do the first and then Annie does the second one. But for the first one, we have that board doesn't inform members about the decisions taken at the board meetings. And kind of first things that we thought were like lack of transparency and maybe like lack of trust towards the board, because no one knows what's happening, and also like lack of accountability. Then we started to think like members are these just like participants of the organization, but are also like members of staff. Because then we thought the risks would be like the staff members, they're not like aware of practices if the board doesn't inform them. And then just for participants, I think this is like lack of transparency and lack of accountability, is that the members can't know if the board is like working for the best interest of the members and the organization, or like if they're kind of trying to work for them and make the organization the best it can be. And then we thought like if the board makes like a decision, let's say like end some program or something like that, the members are not informed, and then it comes up later, then it might lead to like members leaving the organization because it's not governed well, or that they cannot know what's happening in the like the board level. I'm not sure if I now explained this correctly. Ian and Annie, feel free to add if you think there was something else. But I think like lack of transparency and lack of accountability are like the 2 main issues here.
Yeah, agree. You're done with the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Then the second one, when company doesn't have bylaws and solve each conflict. So to begin with, it just takes longer if laws of organizations are not common belief. So it means that each conflict should be solved individually, and each time you have to think about, I don't know, some values, some rules, and it just takes longer. Then we speak about how do you call it? objectiveness. So like if you solve each conflict each time by, for example, different people, the decisions that would be taken could be like unfair, unequal to members. And if you do it individually, also the like procedures, the methods, they could be different, which also might be unfair. And if nothing written supports you, you also might face some legal issues. Like you don't have anything to prove that you are right.
Thank you very much. Any comments on these cases from other participants? Any questions to the group? Anything you are unclear about? Okay, then thank you very much for your work. Let's move on to the next group, group number 2, and 2 more risks.
Hello. For the first one, we have the president and the secretary general are a married couple. So we thought that, of course, there would be no transparency. For example, like we write here, there might be some private conversations on home. So, for example, they talk each other about stuff that's happening in the CSO, and they just think that it's all right, like it's been talked about. So they don't have to consult anybody else, and they don't have to inform people. So they just appear in the board, and they're like, okay, we've talked about this, and it's all right. And like, I don't think anybody else from the board would object in that matter. It would be kind of weird to do so. So no transparency here. Also, there's no objectiveness with each other because they are married. So they will try to support each other and they will back each other up. So they will not be critical with each other. So if one does a mistake or something, the other will not be as harsh as another person would have been, so that the other person realizes that maybe what they're saying or what they are doing is not quite beneficial for the organization. And also just, half fun and half serious. We also said that, for example, in the extreme case of some criminal action, they cannot be made to testify on each other. So yeah, that's also one extreme issue, but also an issue. So the second one is if the auditing committee is just a formality, which means that from what we understood.
Wait a second. Sorry. Are there any comments or questions on the first one? Because I have one comment regarding the support. There's also the other side of it, because if there's a family conflict, then there will be no support, even it's needed, even if it's necessary, and there will be like this internal family conflict may turn into a conflict in the governance structures, although there's no base for it.
Yeah, we definitely missed that. Thank you very much about this.
Tina, Ian wanted to say something.
I think even sometimes there may be no actual issues between the couple, but it can be the perception of that or the claim of that from, or the suspicion even of that, even if things are all proper and objective, there's still that air of uncertainty, because sometimes people can have a lack of trust or faith even if it's unfounded, but just the perception sometimes, which is something to be considered.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, it's not a certainty that things are going to go that way, but we thought of the risks about this. So risk, it's not really happening, or it's not certain, but it is a possibility. So thanks in any case.
Tina, Nea has the hand raised.
I don't know why I can't see the raised hands. I don't know why.
It has just disappeared.
Yeah, I just put it up, but I think here also, like, it's maybe with the objectiveness, but there is kind of the conflict of interest again, because like of course every couple like manages their money their own way, but the kind of household still gets like income from the Secretary General, and then the same person in the household makes the decisions about that. Let's say the Secretary General is like spending the money of the organization, doing like really bad job. Will the president be willing to make the kind of decision to fire the Secretary General? Because that means also that their household loses income.
Absolutely.
I think that's an issue as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for this comment. And you know, I think I cannot speak for all, but I'm almost sure that in most of the constitutions of your YMCAs, there's no any word about having a married couple as a Secretary General and the president, the chair of the board. But it doesn't mean that this is not a risky situation. So not everything is covered by the law, not everything is covered by the constitution and bylaws, but still we need to have our eyes open for different cases that actually may be risky for the governance structures of the organizations. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move forward. Next statement, please.
Can I ask a quick question about this, because we were kind of uncertain about this. So the president is like the president of the board, right?
Yeah.
The board elects the Secretary General, but
the board hires the Secretary General, signs a contract with the Secretary General.
Yeah. So our question was that what is the relation? Like, who checks on who? Because you know, somebody thought one way and the other thought the opposite. So we were uncertain, so we didn't touch that issue.
That's a good question. I would say briefly that they check each other, and Olga maybe will give a more detailed comment.
Yeah, but this is what you already, Tina, told. The board hires, signs a contract with Secretary General. Of course, just one of the roles of the board, of the executive committee, is to support Secretary General, to work together. But legally, the board is the body who hires and fires executive secretary.
But the question was who checks, who controls whom? And I was saying that they control actually each other, because if we do the health check of the organization, we ask the board to somehow to control, to check the activities of the staff, and vice versa. The staff also, in a way, controls the work of the board. So they do it for each other.
At least as a president and secretary general, they have chats about their own performance. Yeah, but in healthy organizations, like the board definitely is evaluating staff work, and the board is evaluating their work always.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, the board can fire the Secretary General, but the Secretary General cannot fire the board. The Secretary General cannot say, like, I don't like this board, let's get dismissed. Just dismiss and we'll elect new one. The Secretary General cannot do that, and the board have the ability to fire the Secretary General. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move forward. Auditing committee is just a formality.
Yeah, so from what we thought, this means that they are there, they exist, but they're not of any substance, so they're not doing actual work. So this generally means that the checks, all the different checks, for example, financial checks, are either not happening or happening by people that already have other responsibilities in their hand. So in both of these cases, it's happening not sufficiently. One other thing is that there is no transparency because of the non-existence, if I can say that, of the checking. So this makes the CSO not trustworthy. So it's definitely a danger for potential partnerships. I'm sorry. Also, there is no control, as we said, in procedure, finance, etc. So there is no potential for progress, because if you cannot check yourself, then you cannot find your weaknesses and what you're doing wrong. So you cannot proceed. And also a crucial thing is that they are not independent because of, as we said, they are either hired or elected. So the main issue is them being independent so they can check efficiently, and that check be of any legitimate. So they can be easily manipulated. So they can provide false receipts and stuff like that. And that is our whole work. Thank you very much, and sorry for taking so much time with my questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions to this group? Okay, thank you. Let's then move to group number 3 and next situations, next cases.
Yeah, the first case is an NGO doesn't have the strategic plan, and here we were discussing that it's difficult to be effective when you don't have a strategic plan, because you won't have efficient development, and your mission will not be clear. Also, by not being really effective, you can probably not achieve the mission. We know that mission is something that we cannot achieve, but we are not moving in a way to achieve that mission. Confusion among the employees because they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing in the moment, but they don't know where they are going in a month or in a year. Lack of efficiency, no development, lack of transparency and accountability, because there is no written plan and nobody can see what the organization is doing. Lack of unity, not achieving the needs of target groups, and it's harder for new people to join in, because when you go to the organization in the middle of their strategic plan, you can look to the strategic plan and understand where where the organization is going on right now, what are the closest goals of this year, of this month. But if you don't have a strategic plan, you will not be able to be inside so quickly as if you had strategic plan. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Strategic plan is important. That's true. Yeah, go ahead, please, Nea.
Yeah, I think these are good points, and I would maybe add here also that it's more difficult to get funding, because you can't communicate to the who gives you the money. You can't communicate what is your plan, and if the funding and the project is in line with your strategic plan.
Thank you, Nea.
Yeah, I think you more or less you mentioned this, but I would also say that it's really difficult to check your efficiency, because you don't know what are the criteria. If you look back and say, okay, did we do a good job last 5 years? We cannot really say it, because we were doing something, but we cannot rely on any fixed data to say if we did a good job or not. And a strategic plan gives us a tool to actually say if we did well. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, may I just suggest the group to add those 2 stickers, because I think that they're crucial about impact. Yeah, you do not know what impact you are creating and evaluating, and what Nea told about fundraising. I think this is so important. Thank you.
Okay, and while you're adding those 2 stickers, let's move to the next case about staff.
Yeah, I'll be starting about this. Sorry, my Zoom is really bad today. I'll be talking with my camera off. So these were some of the possible risks that we thought about. Well, first of all, the 2 biggest are kind of obviously conflict of interest and kind of the division of power not being clear or not happening. Also, we thought about that staying kind of impartial would be challenging in this kind of situation, and also in maybe the board meeting setting more So the kind of maintaining confidentiality could be more challenging maybe, and then hirings and firings could also become really problematic if kind of people are playing for both teams. And but we overall kind of thought that the conflict of interest and the division of power kind of not being intact are the main issues in these kinds of situations. If someone from my team wants to add something or you know, comments, but these are the main things that we thought about.
Yeah, that's basically it, I think. The main risks were really abuse of power and the conflicts of interest, you know.
Thank you. Let's then move to group number 4.
Okay. So we got the issue that there is no gender balance in the board, but when we were talking, we kind of agreed that it's not it is not a problem always, because when it's natural and it come from like natural nature of the organization, then it is okay, and there is greater danger in like forcing some balance when there is like when it's natural to don't have it. For example, if I have an organization which focuses on women, there will be probably there won't be gender balance, because I have many more women than men in this organization. I will have more women in the board, probably. For example, I work in a non-profit organization called Chiquita, which is trying to increase diversity in the world of IT and to educate especially women in IT and new technologies. And there is in the board, there are only women, because in the whole organization there is more women than men. And I believe that if it's natural, and it is because I have like more capable women or men, of course, then it is okay. So the problem, we believe, is discrimination based on gender. When there is a situation when I can be on board because of my gender, then it's a problem. But if there is no gender balance in the board because there is natural cause for it, we believe it is completely okay. So I believe that it's for the first topic. Do you have any like comments or questions?
Yeah, thank you.
So
point, let's move forward.
Yeah, the second one is NGO functions without any formal structure. Everyone does everything. We identified that it can lead to burnout of the people who are working in the organization. It is difficult to keep the people in the organization because it has a lack of efficiency. It's hard to find a common goal, and it can lead to chaotic work, confusion, no sustainability or succession, and it is hard to join in because I come to a group, they may be like functioning, but I don't know how, I don't know who does what, I don't know whom to ask to give me some job. It's hard and it's confusing. So there's for second part. Any questions or comments?
Okay, thank you very much for all groups, to all groups. You've done a great job, and I think you have explored many of the risks that actually all organizations face, more or less. And the risks by themselves, they're not a problem. Like, risks are a normal part of our everyday life and is in governance as well. But it's important that we know what they lead to and that we have some tools how to deal with these risks. So let's move to the next part of our today's session. And we give the floor to Matthew, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and before we give the floor to Matthew, and actually there will be a break very soon, we want to underline that these situations are not just created by ourselves. They are quite real. They exist in different organizations. We were observing them. Sometimes we are observing them. And risks are very real, very real. Those risks that you identified are absolutely real. It really leads to lack of motivation, to frustration, and sometimes organizations disappear. Yeah, probably this was not mentioned, but sometimes organizations disappear really, and they are closed, and their wonderful work that they has been doing for the communities disappear as well, only because the governance was not run in the right way. I really hope that you will not observe any situations in your real life. And before we go to the break and a different topic, do you have any questions or comments on it? All right, then Matthew, what do we need to know before going to the break?
So the next exercise that we're going to do after the break is obviously continuing on the theme of governance. And although I joined slightly later today, it's been quite clear to me that you guys got a good understanding of governance and are learning it quite quick. But I think the best way to solidify that learning is by putting it into practice. So we are going to be going into a role play exercise where we're going to be having board members going through a meeting, and each board member is going to have a different role, just like YMCA Europe's executive committee, just like my board here at YMCA Tayside. And then for everybody else that isn't on the board, you guys are going to be acting as observers. So you'll be taking notes and thinking, yes, this board member done well, this could have gone better, all based off the learning that we've gone through so far. So the way that it's going to work is we're going to remain as one big group, but I'm going to send over individually to 6 people, because there are going to be 6 board members, what your role is going to be. So I'll do that privately to each individual, each 6 people on the board. And we'll send out the agenda as well, so everyone can see what is on the meeting. Does that make sense so far? Yeah, okay. If you don't get a private message from me with your role, you are an observer. Okay, so during the break, just keep an eye out on your chat, and you'll see what your role is. Okay, and yeah, August literally just posted the agenda for everybody to see. Okay, let's take a quick break. I think 15 minutes. And what time we rejoining then? Just about 10 to?
We all have different time zones, so in 15 minutes.
In 15 minutes, okay. Brilliant. Okay, see you guys soon. So we have got Nia, Natalie, Gwen, Olga, Ian, and Nikos. During the break, I messaged you guys individually with your roles. Some people may be a little bit more confident than others with their roles. And Olga messaged everybody with the agenda. So For everybody that's not spotlighted and hasn't obviously got a role, you guys are going to be the spectators. So you guys will be analyzing, taking notes, please, whether it's on your phone or on a piece of paper, of what you think went well in the meeting and what you think didn't go well. Anything that you would have done differently. What do you think was a challenge? What do you think wasn't a challenge? Just really providing as much feedback as you can. Okay. You guys all have 20 minutes to go through the agenda. You've all got your individual roles, so please do play out your roles very well, well, as best as you can. So I guess, board members, do you guys have any questions for us before we start? No?
I also want to say about revealing the roles, because some roles will be revealed immediately during the process, like the president. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, but some roles are not so vivid. So you are just, please act according to the role. And we hope at the very end, we all can discuss what kind of role you were playing.
Yes, Ian?
Are these rules true to life? Are they based on real people?
Possibly.
No, no, no. Any, how to say?
Any likeness or resemblance is merely...
Yes, this is how in the movie, any resemblance is occasional.
Yeah, so this could be very fun. Also for the observers to try identify who's who. Obviously, as Olga said, the president's probably going to be quite clear as maybe others, but you can try see who's who and what role they played. So guys, you've got 20 minutes. You've got the agenda. Yeah, over to you.
Well, thank you everyone for joining on the board meeting. I think the first step would be to validate the minute of the previous one, which we can't do because it's an exercise and we didn't have a previous one. So for the sake of the exercise, let's say we do it. So I think the first step would be to go through the agenda together and see if everyone approves it for this meeting. So at first, we need to, this is what I propose. We should start by selecting 2 participants for the Leadership Academy course. We need to organize then the National Youth Forum for December 21. We need to assess the impact of the leadership program. We need also to accept the financial report for 2020 for last year. And we need to evaluate the staff team and approve the plan for June and December 21, and then any other business that might come to your mind. Is that good with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, great. Let's start with selecting the 2 participants for the Leadership Academy course. I believe we have some criteria to select the person. Someone of you would like to remind us of them, maybe? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to begin with, we should pick people of the age from 17 to 30 that have an active role in their society and in their local Y.
Something else? Mm-hmm. Just please, just.
Oh, okay. I think in my program, I have a few good candidates, and we actually have in my sports program, we have had a really good, like a similar training to be leaders in the sports program, and it has succeeded very, very well. And in the sports program, it is also good because we have a lot of people who would be interested in this, and they are young and they're really active in the sport, in the program. And did I also mention that we have a really good leadership and like young leaders in my sports program? It's been working really well.
It's very good. I think maybe we could also, another criteria we could consider to not discriminate. I don't know, should we say that we should have one male, one female?
I think someone should be from the sports program because it's been so successful. I think the sports program should be represented.
I think we need to set the criteria really clearly to see who really fits for the training.
Can I just,
agree. Oh, sorry, go on.
Can I just check, can we just keep the criteria the same as we've always kept it? Does it need to change? Is there anything wrong with the way it's been?
But what are they then?
I think as long as they fit the correct age bracket and have the correct sort of meet the criteria of having a role within their organization, then I think that's the way we've always done it. So it seems to work.
All right. So should we see what participant we have and see who fits best?
Yeah, and probably we can do like open call where people can submit themselves and write motivation letter and describe why they want to take part in that. I guess that will be more transparent and like.
I agree.
Do we all have a list about that so we can check on that? Or are we on the stage of actually making the call?
Well, the agenda, I'm sorry, because I guess it's from the exercise. The what Olga sent says selection of the participants. So I guess we already made the calls and we have applications and we need to select.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so we know that NIA has some young people interested. Do you guys have other young people in mind? From your wives, maybe?
No.
I mean, as long as they are in the specific age that we require, then there shouldn't be any problem. It could be anywhere, anyone. Excuse me, do we actually have names here or not? I'm guessing not. Should we make up some names right now?
I have a couple of people who have applied from my basketball team that I'm leading. So there is, okay, now I'm lacking all the English names. There's Mary, and then there's Joseph, and then there is Sarah, and then there's Eva, and they would all be really interested from my sports stream. I would really suggest that we pick two of them. Because they're really good people and they're from my basketball team, as mentioned. They show up to practice every week. They're really good players. They're really team-minded in the practice. They are really energetic and motivated, and they really bind the team together. Yeah, in the basketball practice, it's been really good and really like a pleasure to have them there. I think they would make a great candidate, each of them, to this program.
They seem all right. Thank you about that. But maybe like we can take one of your guys, and then in order to not discriminate and not be centered on a specific kind of lifestyle, I would say, like, okay, they're both athletes, so okay, let's take one athlete and let's take something else too.
Do you all agree with Nikos?
Yeah, I also agree with that point. And for other person, we can go through the whole motivation later and choose, and also ask them to say more about their ideas about Leadership Academy. Choose from them.
Although, because it's going to go to work against the entire agenda, can we like make a quick selection and if we don't like it in the contingents, then we can just review it. So somebody
right.
say a name.
So we agreed that we would have one from Nia's team. When I asked if one of you guys had other participants in mind, correct me if I'm wrong, only Nikos had people in mind. Am I right?
Not someone in particular, but just so we can go on, I will say there is a George, a specific George I would like to include in the program.
All right. Does everyone agree with that?
Yep, sounds good.
Great.
Natalia?
Yes, this is my first time, and I know, sure, yes.
All right, perfect. Nia, we leave it up to you to select one of your 2 young people among those you had in mind. Does that work for you?
Yes, it works for me. I think from the sports team, it's really easy to pick one of them. They're all really good candidates, and they show up to practice, and they're really like team spirited people. So I think in the sports world, when having this leadership training, they could really make a difference. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you will manage. Don't worry. You will manage to choose, I'm sure. Okay, good. Moving on, guys. So we need to organize the National Youth Forum for December 21 now. Any ideas on that?
Well, we've been running this youth forum for a long time, so we just keep it somewhat similar to what we've been doing. We don't really change it that much. That's my thoughts.
Although the situation is quite different from previous years. For example, we have the pandemic right now. So in my opinion, we should make 2 plans, one for the case that it's we still have a quarantine, and one that's not. And also one idea is to focus on a kind of platform that's very close to young people, so they can have easy access, and also that they don't get bored, because if you have to open like even log in at a different site or something, it's quite tedious for some young people. So we should keep it simple and do things that they already use.
You guys agree?
I also agree that we should like think in 2 ways, and it's in our circumstance probably even online way that will be better, that will be even cheaper than the other one. Yeah, I agree with Nikas.
I'm happy as long as it doesn't change too much from what we've been doing.
I mean, it's always going to be a youth forum, so how much can it differ from other youth forum? But I think we need to be flexible, and as Nico said, really taking into consideration the current context. Things are changing, the world is changing, and unfortunately we need to move along with it. Jan, we can't stay stuck in the past always,
I think I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, so I think just like we know what works, and it works, so if it's not broken, we don't need to fix it.
I can just add here, in the sports area of the YMCA, we have had like a similar like national get together since 2012 every year. And I think it has worked really well. And in terms of this National Youth Forum, we could take a lot from the sports event, because it really gathers people from all around, and they play together, they get together, they share ideas together. And like I said, 2012 was the first year. It was organized in 2014. We actually changed the whole location and whole setting of the sports. So it changed from city to city, and sports that we play, they change every year and the activities change, but it's a really good event. And now online we have the shared activities and shared like Zoom sessions, and it has really worked in the sports area. And I think the sports really have brought young people together and brought new ideas. And in addition to that, like it's not that costly, because the sports, we might just rent some facilities from like a school, and it's not really that expensive. And the schools have been really happy to have us there. And I think the sports event just has like really leveled up people's like motivation and inspiration to do sports. And I think local teams are more like ambitious in their fitness, but there's also just relaxed sports. You don't have to compete, but then people who want to compete in the sports area, they're really doing a good job there. And I think it's
Can I ask
really
you
good.
something? Can I ask you something? According to how those sports activity falls under National Youth Forum, just make that clear to me, because I'm confused here.
It's just because it's a good example for this type of event where the national level people are gathered together. So I think the sports event in general, it's a good thing to take into account when designing this, because the sports event has really been working well. Like I said, since 2012, it has been a really good event. And really many young people have enjoyed it. We have
I very much agree with that. Yeah, I'm on you with that boat. But thing is, how can we use the ideas of that sports camp that you're talking about, or program?
Maybe.
How can we make them in the context of the youth forum? I think that's the main issue here.
I think just some of the activities we do and the locations we have chosen, they might be useful to this one. But I just wanted to highlight the event in general, because it's been working really well in the sports area. So we might have like a basketball team day, and then we might have like a football team day, and then like a maybe ice hockey team day or something like that, and provide like many activities during the day. And like I think young people have really enjoyed the sports.
Forum, right?
Yeah, but I think some things
it's
may
more
be
about
applied.
talking. Yeah, of course. We could break the talking with some activities and stuff. But from what I understand, a forum is most likely an online place. So maybe we should try and keep it that way.
So maybe we can. I think for now we all agree that we need to stay flexible and have two plans depending on the context, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that sport activities require a lot of resources. So it's possible, but not now, probably not for the youth forum also.
Mm-hmm. What I'm thinking now is that maybe at the moment, because it's still far and we still have time, we already agreed on something. Maybe we can move on and discuss again during the next meeting, see how maybe we can implement a sports activity in there, something, or maybe we can, for today it's enough. What do you think?
Personally, I think we should at least talk about the topics that should be talked about in the forum, because there should be something that young people actually are interested about. So they have an incentive to talk, their problems. So they need to talk with other people about them, or share, or whatever the end purpose is. It shouldn't be something boring. It shouldn't be something that they are not concerned with.
So you would like to select the topics today?
Yeah. I mean, some suggestions would be mental issues, especially just caused by us being quarantined for a long time and not having some physical contact. Another thing could be issues with education and how it affects your choice of career. For example, staying home all day, you don't really care about this kind of stuff. So at least that's things that I believe are youth concerning. What do you guys think?
Well, I think historically we've done like all the important themes, and like they're really like those issues and those themes are still here. So, and we know them really well, so we can just make sure we have some of those historic ones still in there. rather than sort of like changing everything every time.
We're not changing everything. We can have, like you said, some past issues, but also incorporate some recent one. I mean, this year has been quite disruptive for young people. I think I agree with Nikos. I think it would be good for them to talk about it. What do you other guys think?
Yes, I agree that we should specify now topics what we discuss in that forum, and agree with Nika's topic, and also would add some probably online tools that people can use for, I don't know, entertainment or meeting, or some learning platform that's kind of.
That we can discuss at a later stage. We're going back to what format and platform to use. Right now, we are discussing the topics. Jan, what topics do you have in mind that you would like to remain for the Youth Forum?
Well, I just know, like, we've been doing this for a long time, and like employment and sort of youth empowerment, those are still important. So let's just stick, or at least not change it too much from those real key issues. That's my only, and it's on experience, so those are just my main points.
Yeah, definitely keeping those. They are important. Yeah, for sure. But also, just adding some things up, not too much.
Not too much.
What do you think about the topic of gender equality?
I am on it. I mean, it concerns youth. I mean, especially with the current movement of being equal and stuff. I think it should be. I mean, it is a great opportunity to balance things up for the next generation. So, and I think the youth is very much prepared to do such a change. So they are concerned about it. So I think it should be a topic for sure.
Do you all agree?
Yes.
Other topics that come to your mind? All right. Do we agree that we're set on the topics? So we would have, Nikos, I'm not sure I rephrasing your point right.
No worries.
This education, disruptions of life due to the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like self-isolation, etc. Employment, youth empowerment, gender equality. Am I forgetting something? Perfect. That's settled. Moving on. So we need to assess the impact of the leadership program. Do we have the evaluation forms from the participants?
Yes.
Thank you, Mela. Shall we go through them and, oh, it's hard because we don't actually have that. Shall we go through them and see if the impact, so first of all, what impact were we foreseeing or we wanted to achieve? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we wanted to make to create leaders for active leaders for an active society, but for civil work.
Like motivate them for their own projects to be leader.
Mm-hmm. All right, but I believe, correct me again if I'm wrong, I think what we evaluated this through the increase of knowledge that the participants gain, and the evaluation forms were like the questions on to see how much they learned about governance and leadership and project implementation and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Yes. All right. So let's imagine, from what I've seen, most of like 80% of the participants really like got 80% right on the questions.
All right.
It seems good.
And I think our goal was that at least 80% of the participants got a good knowledge. So do you think did we achieve the impact we were hoping for?
Yeah,
As
I
you
think
said.
like another really successful year of the Leadership Academy, as it has been over the last number of years.
Yeah, it's been successful despite a change. I mean, it's online, etc. You know, change is good sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, huh?
Can I add
All
here?
right.
We had one participant in the Leadership Academy that is in my basketball team, and she really felt that she learned a lot. And I think even though some of the teams are not necessarily directly to the sport activities, but I think she will have a good leadership that she can maybe manage the sports program parts really well. And she really has a passion for basketball. She has been playing basketball in the YMCA since 2003, and she's been really enthusiastic about the game. And I think
We're running out of time. We need to move on. But I'm glad that your youth benefited a lot from it. Actually, we're late. I don't think we're going to have time to finish the agenda, guys, because we have just 1 minute left. So we need to evaluate the staff team now. Shall we do that quickly? Are they meeting the objective, and are they managing to implement the project in time?
Excuse me, can you repeat?
We need to evaluate the staff team. So my question is, are they managing to implement the project in time, and are they doing the work efficiently? What do the reports say?
I mean, I think we're all, I think all pretty good. My concern is just that we're starting, like, we're into all these new things and challenges, and I'm just a bit concerned that we're sort of changing so much.
But I think we should trust them. They have experience, they have skills. I think we should trust them. They know what they do, or they seem to. Despite those changes that you've been seeing, I think we're still successful, no?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
In the basketball field, I feel like the staff has really outdone themselves this year. It's been really good. The reports have been spot on.
Perfect. So the evaluation is good.
I would,
we need
I would like to add something. Sorry, I would like to add that for me as well, I think they did a great job. But I would like to see some more young people in the ranks. That's definitely one point to be considered.
All right. What do you guys think? Do you agree with Nikos? We need more young
in the sports area with the basketball, we already have quite a lot of young people. I feel like
not focus only on the sports area. I think we need to keep it general.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so guys, well done. Yeah, truly well done. We put you on the spot. 20 something minutes we had you going through that with no preparation. Well done. Okay. All right. I think we are taking the spotlights off. So we're just going to come to a bit of time just to reflect, evaluate, see what worked, what didn't work, and just get general feelings. So let me just, first of all, ask before the actual board members, let me just go to my gallery view so I can see everyone. Before the board members reveal what their roles were, let's ask the observers. What do you think the board members' roles were? Was it clear? So we already said that there was a president. So who was the president?
Gwen, of course.
Gwen. Yeah, exactly. I think that was quite clear that Gwen was the president. Juliet, I see your hands up, but Annie, why do you think Gwen was the president?
Because she was chairing the meeting.
Exactly. It was quite obvious, I felt. Okay. So, what were the other roles then? Julia?
Yeah, I like have sort of the picture, so I will start from there. So Nea obviously was like some kind of sport activist. She was talking only about like sport and her sport area. Then Natalie, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Natalia. Natalia was like the first time member of the board. She was quiet the whole time and said that she's like the first time here and not really sure about anything. Then we have a president, and the below line is kind of more difficult. We have Nikos, who is like I guess his role is just perfect member of the board. I don't know, I'm not sure. Yeah, and we have Ian, who is something like conservator, the guy who is like always talking about rules and how we should not make anything more new, and how he's like afraid of changes. And we have Olga. I'm sorry, I guess it's kind of like a person who always says yes to anything. I don't know, it sounded like that. Just my opinion.
Okay, interesting, thank you. Any other thoughts then? Or are we genuinely agreeing with Juliet's observations? Okay, so let's go with the board then. So does each member of the board want to shout out exactly what I messaged you, what your role was, and see if the observers were correct?
I can maybe start. I was an activity leader who is speaking only about her or his program sport. I also added a bit of like being the person who like carries away the conversation and starts speaking about a lot more about the sport than the topic. But I think that was really good.
It was brilliant. Yeah. So pretty much right on. Well done. Okay.
I can go second if you want. So I was the president who wants everybody to be happy about decisions and that there are no conflicts.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. Okay.
I was a treasurer who doesn't want to spend any money, and unfortunately, I haven't the possibilities, I guess, to reveal that because we don't really discuss financial stuff. So I try to say that's online, that's even cheaper, that's some resources stuff, but it's yeah. But it was fascinating, and I'm really enjoy how the board member revealed their actor potential.
It's at scale, that's for sure. Yeah, so thank you, Olga. You played the treasurer who didn't want to spend any money. And I'm pretty sure there are some treasurers like that in board meetings and businesses, charities, whatever. So well done. Who else? Nikos?
Yeah, I was a youth council leader. My role was to promote youth participation, which was like I didn't quite did that role exactly because you know it's the YMCA, so everything is about young people. So it was the basic pack to do that. So I couldn't add something different. The only thing that I had to push that through was in the end that we were evaluating the staff. So I just wanted to say that, no offense, okay? You did a great job, all of you. It didn't mean anything about you know, for that, but yeah, promoting youth participation.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. I felt you'd done that well as well. Ian and Natalia. So Ian, what was your role?
I was an experienced person who is on the board for more than 20 years and doesn't want too much to change.
Yeah. So obviously it's a lot more clear for people that knew the roles and the leaders and I. I felt, Ian, you've done that well. I think it was quite clear as well. And lastly, Natalia, what was your role?
It was a person that started in the ward. This was my first time.
Mm-hmm. A new time member to the board who wasn't feeling very confident. You maybe had the easiest job because you played your role perfectly. You didn't have to say anything. So well done. Okay, so let's just reflect a wee bit. I guess board members, how do you feel? What do you think went well? What don't you think went well? Yes, Ian?
I mean, it was a bit weird at the start, but like I was really impressed. Like Gwen, I think you've done a really good job of sort of taking the lead and stepping into that. And Nia, I wanted to hear more about 2012 and that basketball. So like those for me. I would have found probably those more challenging, but he's done them really well. And it was a bit. I suppose even for me, like I was sort of, you were trying to give everybody a place to be their persona, and at the same time, I didn't want to come across like that's who I really was. It's a bit like didn't get pulled off. So, but it was really good, and I think in probably some sense, like any sort of board meetings or leadership meetings I've been on, there is a real variety of people who there's people who carry on the conversation, take it off into the trees, and there's people who have to bring it back on track, and there's people who everyone has their place and their part to play. And I think, even people who say very little but contribute at the right time and right moment. So it was a really good, really fun.
Perfect, thanks Ian. And yeah, brilliant observation. Gwen?
So I would say, like, Nia, you played all your role really well, and oh my God, some of you made it so hard. You really made it so hard. But I know, as the president, I had a lot of responsibilities, and I know I made mistakes. I didn't agree on who was going to take the minute for that meeting at first. I let Nia drive me completely away. It's really hard, naturally, for me to interrupt people, so that. At the end, I was trying to do it more, but so my role was to make everyone happy. And by doing so, I was not making you happy. So I was also failing my role. And I felt that making Natalia participate more as the new member, which would be my role, so that she could integrate the team more and feel confident in then bringing her views and opinions, etc. And without the help of Nikos and Diane, I don't know how I would have managed with the imagination and etc.
Yeah, brilliant, awesome, thank you. Yeah, ideal. I guess a point to raise, if I can jump in a wee bit, is you guys didn't manage to go through the whole agenda. Why is that?
Because Nia kept talking about basketball.
Okay.
Because it's lack of information and we don't know what we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think also we should have maybe had like a more clear schedule, like, okay, now we have 10 minutes left and now we have to move faster, so let's make decisions like faster, or like leave to the next meeting if needed.
Yeah, for sure. I think us as a leaders team, we discussed that and we thought it's probably best just leaving you guys to go without some of that information and see how it's facilitated, see how it's led. Knowing that there's going to be conflict happening with the treasurer. Unfortunately, we didn't get to the part about speaking about the financial stuff, which would have brought Olga in a wee bit more, but I think that would have brought some conflict and a lot more discussion, which would have then eaten up time. But we had Nia talking about basketball and going off on just a whole thing. And next thing you know, you spend 5 minutes learning about Nia's basketball team back in 2012, and you're meant to be discussing the Leadership Academy, for example. So it's situations like that lead to the board thinking, oh, we can't achieve what we wanted to achieve, and we're running out of time and so on, which touches into leadership, but also into just the setting up of the board. one thing that I picked up on is I like the idea from Gwen, and I took a note of it when you highlighted we can't come to a decision just now, so let's defer the decision with further thought to the next meeting. So let's go away and think about it more, reflect on our discussion now, and then come with the decision next meeting. But because you try to keep everybody happy, although there was a good suggestion, people like, I think it was Nikos, like, no, I want to make a decision now. You're like, okay, let's make a decision now. Then others, it just brought more discussion, which then obviously extended the time and meant that you couldn't talk about the financial report. You couldn't get to any other business and so on. Okay. Any other thoughts, even from the guys observing? Please do just jump in.
I just have one sort of interesting sort of thought about, like when we were talking previously about the experience for board members. I mean, obviously for us, like that's why I was really impressed, even like with Gwen sort of took on that role and sort of found in such a short, like none of us are experienced in these roles. And I think no one really is. You're never supposed to be perfect at the very beginning of anything. And so for people who take on, and I know people who've went on boards, and often people go into it with maybe a lack of confidence, but that's natural, like anything. And you find, so if we were to do this over and over again, you start to learn who plays what roles, and you can start to sort of make it more efficient and more effective. So it was interesting. We were talking before about experience, and that's something that you learn through doing. So it was quite good.
Sure.
I would like to say something about the essence of preparing before the meeting. So, for example, this wasn't possible for this exercise, and we also didn't have anything to, solid to work with. For example, a paper or something. So I know it wasn't possible, but for example, in meetings like this, it is how they go is very much reliant on how much the participants have researched before and have thought about things. So they, the whole point of this meeting is to talk about your ideas, and if you don't have any ideas or any suggestions formed in your mind, then there's no actual ground of talking. It's just you're thinking in that moment, and that takes time. So you really lose time. And for example, we didn't finish our agenda because we had to think about stuff, make up stuff.
Yeah, brilliant point. Certainly from my experience of being on the board, you've got the whole year, and I guess this is a sign of a good governance, is that the person organizing the board, maybe it's the, I don't know, whoever's nominated to do that, sets out the 4 board meetings that are going to happen in the year. And we know that on this date in August, this is going to be a board meeting and so on. But then leading up to that board meeting, all the papers, all the information is sent out in time. And the board that I volunteered on, there was an expectation that you came prepared. So we had all of these papers and we would read through them. So when it comes to the board, you would come with a good information, good understanding, and it would just be kind of quick questions, quick discussion, and then decision from there. And the board actually got through a lot. It was very rare that we didn't get the agenda complete, because everybody read the papers, discussed it beforehand, and then came to meeting in person when we were allowed. Quick final discussions, making sure we're on the same page, decision made, move on to the next point. So very good. Preparation before is crucial and is effective, I think. Yeah. I think if I can jump in again, Natalia was a new member to the board and didn't contribute a huge amount. What are your thoughts with that? Do you think that was effective? Do you think it was okay? What do you think, and how would you do this differently in a real board meeting if a new member was to the board? how would you work in that situation?
I think.
Go ahead, Natalia.
Nikos.
Okay. So I would like to make a comment about this. In my opinion, being a new member is difficult for one main reason, because you don't really know how things work. You don't know the possibilities, the you know what abilities you have as a member. You don't know what you if I can say, like, what you can comment on, what you can suggest, or what are the other guys have talked so far. I mean, in the general lines. So it's like for me, it's like everything new. Like, let's say you start in a new sport or something. You don't know your abilities in that. You don't know the general rules that everybody else are supposed to know. So it's quite difficult, and I think the what can be done for this is that you really must be informed from before. So you have to search for knowledge about how things work in order to be active and know what your place is. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Just a new fish or something, if I can say that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Nikos. Go on.
I think also if the new board member is a bit shy to contribute, the other board members should like ask that person, you know, invite that person to share their thoughts and opinions. I think probably, especially the president. I didn't know there was a new board member, so I just thought, yeah. But I think, yes, it's important that the other members make that new person feel welcomed.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, in real life, you would know, especially as the president, that this is a new member to the board that maybe don't have the experience that Ian's character is playing with 20 years experience and has done this all before and just wants it to continue. But it's good facilitation skills, whether you're in a board of management, whether you are leading a youth group, for example. It is good facilitation skills to get those people involved and to welcome them in. But sometimes, I've certainly been on the same board where it's about, like, the first few months is about just really learning and experiencing. So sometimes it's okay to observe more information than try to contribute. You've probably heard that the saying where God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We need to listen sometimes more than we need to speak. So so maybe new board members and stuff take that on board more than others. So quickly wrapping it up.
I would add also to that new member to like not be afraid to ask. Like every time there's something, just ask. If no one explains it to you, just ask if you don't know.
For sure, definitely, and that comes with confidence. Probably not so good if the board members are asking silly questions all the time, like what day is it? What are we talking about? I mean, actually, what are we talking about is sometimes an okay question. But anyway, good. So I guess for everybody, do you feel that this role play and scenario was a demonstration of an effective governance structure, effective governance? Yes or no?
No, it clearly wasn't. And although
clearly wasn't.
although some of my colleagues kind of were role playing, but I think that implicitly you can find this kind of characters. You know, the person who has been on the board for many years, so it's just now a routine, and the young person who's very motivated and wants to put forward the voice of young people. The person who is also leading a program, so it's kind of there's a conflict of interest there. So I think it was quite realistic.
Thanks, Gabriel. I saw a few people shaking their heads thinking, no, that wasn't so effective. So, and I think from our discussion, there's definitely things that people would keep in mind to make sure that doesn't happen in the future, like certain types of facilitation and stuff. I guess, is there anybody in the room that thinks, actually, no, I want to stand my ground, and I think that was effective and it was good for these reasons?
At least there was conversation about the issues and not just like Gwen saying like these should be done and no one saying anything and then just moving on. So at least there was like a room for conversation, even though maybe a little too much, but but in that sense that the board was kind of like reacting to the decisions and kind of putting their opinion on them.
I have a small question, if you allow me, about the process of decision making, because we heard a lot of different conversations, but I actually, maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear any like fixed decision making except for like, okay, let's do like that, or let's move forward. But usually when there's a board meeting, there's a very clear procedure of how we take the decision. And in most cases, it's just voting. So if there is some case that not everybody agrees upon, or there are different views, we just vote. And I think it's a very simple, but a very good instrument to take a decision if there's, especially if the time is limited and we need to move forward. And it's same for approving the minutes and approving the budget and evaluating stuff and deciding on the, I don't know, on the dates of the youth event. We just vote for them.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. Juliet, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to say like one thing about the process of the board meeting. I wanted to say that it was really, how to say it, psychologically safe, because even the new person, it wasn't like you're dumb, your idea is dumb, we are not like listening to you. And for Nia, no one said like, Nia, we got your sport thing, like shut up now. It was really soft, and it was really psychologically safe. I just really want to say thank you for that.
Exactly. Yeah. I think everybody was respectful, even though Nia kept talking about her basketball team. And then really near the end, I think Gwen, you just pretty much did kindly say, you know what, we're moving on. Thanks, Nia. But you done it in a respectful way. So yeah. Gabrielle.
I have a question regarding the number of people that were on the board. They should be an odd number, like 5 or 7, because they were 6, I think.
Mm-hmm. And why is that?
For voting purposes.
Exactly. So 6 people on the board, 3 people vote for, 3 people vote against. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen then? You're back in the same position. So yeah, 7, 4 people vote for, 3 people vote against. Democracy. Martina.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, Gabrielle, this is a good point, but also it's quite theoretical, because you can have in the statutes that there are 5 or 7 or 11 board members, but usually it happens that somebody's not coming. So anyway, you have to cope with the situation. I have few points. First, Gwen once made one good thing, which I want to mention clearly, and it was the summary after the point. So she said, okay, let me clarify. Did we agree on this and this and this? Guys, do you agree with that? And this was very helpful what she did, because this after each point, you should really clarify if you understand well and if everybody has the same understanding, and then put it into the minutes. This is a very, very good procedure because as Tina said, it was not clear in the end very often if the vote should be taken or what's the procedure. But at least this is something what is important, to make sure that you really summarize what you agreed on and put it in the minutes. Then also the order of the agenda is quite important. as you mentioned already several times, there was a lot of time lost in the details on not so important points. And then there was no time left for much more important points. So also a kind of advice is to start with the most complicated and most important issues. And don't leave it to the end of the meeting, because then you just don't manage, and this is something what should be really done. By the way, you played very well. My congratulations, and especially about NEA, I have one remark. This is very common. What was the NEA's character is very common in the boards, because there are people coming from different backgrounds, and it was not only that she was too talkative and she should be somehow calmed down, but it was also about her understanding. If you are elected to the local YMCA or national YMCA board, then you have to understand that you have to represent the interests of the whole YMCA, not only of your group. And as I said, NEA was playing really well, and this is happening very often. People just don't understand what's the main interest or what is their main role in the board, and they should understand that they represent the whole YMCA and all their activities, and they are trying to find the best solutions for everybody, not to present their sport group and to push all the only the people from the sport group everywhere and to present it everywhere. So that was it.
Brilliant. Thank you. Guys, I'll just say well done.
May I just add a couple of comments? Yeah, also some observations. Yeah, good job. Congratulations. Yeah, amazing role play, amazing acting out of all roles. Yeah, I wanted to underline that Gwen also validated the minutes of the previous board meeting at the very beginning, and definitely this is what we are doing. We are always approving the previous meetings if they are correct. Thank you for doing it. This is so good that you were speaking about transparent open call when you were discussing the Leadership Academy. This is crucial and important that you have done it. I also want, despite that Gwen's character was loyal and kind to everyone, but I think that at some moment you have managed to cut the character of Nair quite in a strong and clear way, but polite as well, that here we are discussing like common issues, but not just sport. And I think that we as young and kind and open people sometimes should be strict in these roles. What I also noticed that when you were discussing the youth forum, yeah, somehow there was a risk to go to micromanagement. And you already started discussing small things, and this is what the board should not actually do. This is quite a big risk and a common tendency, unfortunately. And this is good that you came back to the discussion of just overall concept. So if you just setting goals, okay, just the impact that we want to achieve is this one. And then the logical step would be to create a working group or a committee, yeah, for this forum, and do not do these things yourself. Actually, this is not your work, yeah, so you could involve young people to organize a youth forum. Yeah, and the same with the evaluation of the leadership program. So probably you should just have asked for the report and play something. Okay, we have the report done by our staff. This report says this, this, and that. but somehow there was a risk of micromanagement when you started looking at the numbers and figures yourself. These are small examples, but they are good examples of some big risks. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't actually pick up on that, but as the board, I think one way that I remember is that your role is more strategic, and the board is sometimes is the one that puts together the strategic plan, but then how you implement the strategic plan is through an operational plan, and then that goes down to the staff members. This is our vision. How we're going to do that? We're going to run youth clubs. We're going to run a leadership academy. We're going to do this. How much is the leadership academy? Oh, it's £2,000 a year. Oh no, Olga doesn't want to spend £2,000 a year, whatever, you know, that type of stuff. So, so yeah, I think those are good points. Okay, but yeah, I think it is 5-1. We've done really well. Thanks again to the board members, just being put on the spot, little notice, not a lot of information, and you've done really well to allow the vast amount of reflection that Olga was writing on the Jamboard there. So yeah, and remember, this is an example of NGO board of management, but boards of management exist in different forms. So now that we've planted that seed and had that experience, if you find yourself being able to observe other decision-making bodies, have a look at how they work and reflect on the learning from today, and go from there. It doesn't just need to be within a charity or an NGO or whatever. Okay, brilliant.
Thank you, Matthew. Do you have any questions about the role of board members? What the board is performing, what board should perform? Any observations, comments, highlights? Gabriel, yeah, please.
No, I just have questions / curiosity. So all documents that are worked by the board should be available to staff members. So if a staff member asked for the vision, you know, or the strategic plan, they have the right to see it, or there are some documents which are at board level.
So the question, are there any documents which staff cannot see? Yeah, but board,
so,
is it? I guess there might be some. I cannot imagine now.
Maybe I can say about, for example, very often there is the discussion of the staff performance during the board meetings, but usually it's agreed, at least at our board, this is done in the way that it's agreed that everything stays in the room and it's not in the minutes. It's just in the minutes appears only that they were discussing it, but not any details, because of course this is a personal discussion. So there are no details in the board meeting minutes. So there might be some a kind of private or secret issues which should not appear in the minutes. It's just a remark that it was discussed, but that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Martina. Yeah, but definitely not vice versa. I mean, mostly board knows everything, and they have right to know everything. Okay, thank you so much. So we are coming up to summing up actually the topic of governance, and you will not believe, but like the whole second session. So it is finishing, and the third one is waiting for us. So to sum up the governance topic, what formula of good governance would you create? Could you please think of it and write it in the chat? So the formula of good governance might be Diversity, efficiency, being on the same page. Efficiency. Transparency, listen to everybody. Efficiency. Openness to discussion, a clear understanding of roles and responsibilities. Oh, yes. Being prepared, understanding your role, having clear rules. Yeah, clear to everyone. Flexible, changing, humanly. Clear division of power, clear electoral process, and accountability. Je ne parle espagnol pas. Joint, transparent, trustworthy work between the ruleless and the ruled. Oh, yep. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, solid structure that supports the organization, multiple people. Wait, yeah, multiple people, not everything in the hands of one person. Inclusion, yep, inclusion is crucial. Thank you. So we have several things to do. The first one is, I hope, the nicest one, is to smile to the camera. Those who have the cameras off, if it's possible, could you please put them on? Thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you. 1, 2, that was 3. And let me check. Oh yeah, I think it's nice, yeah. So congratulations with the end of the second session. You have done an amazing job. Very soon you will receive the link to evaluation again. So we will ask you to evaluate the second session. Later, a little bit later, you will receive links to study communication and advocacy. At the third session, we will speak about communication. We are going to invite an expert on nonviolent communication for the workshop. And we are going to work with advocacy campaigns and advocacy and policy papers. With advocacy campaigns, we will have some creative task. So please start thinking about the topics you want to work with, or maybe you are working with, and something that you can even do internationally in international small teams. Yeah, so I was sending you the, I hope, did I send you the schedule already? No. Okay, so I will send you the schedule then as soon as possible, because we have just agreed with the trainers team. But again, we will have 3 more meetings. One meeting in May, and it is already set that will be 29th of May.
Should I copy to chat?
Oh yes, Martina, if you have it, please do it.
Yes, please.
Yes, so 29th of May, perfect. Then the second is in June. And the final one will happen on Tuesday, June 22, and we will have super short project presentation, but by this time we will really ask you to complete some kind of a report for what would be done by this time. So this is the plan. Okay, one more question. How are your projects doing? Could you please show any kind of emoji sign here so we can understand? Natalia, well, Nea, well. Ina, Ian, Olga, perfect. Nikas, Alba, how are your projects? Nikas, if you want to speak to us, let us know. Anne as well, let us know if you need any help. Juliet, if you still want to apply, you can do it super quickly. We can accept your application, I think. Lucy is scared as well. So Lucy, again, so if you want to speak to us, we are ready. Please drop us a message. We can speak to you and support you as much as we can. And before saying goodbye, we would like to ask you to complete a very short poll about this session on governance. Those who haven't completed STEPIC on governance yet, please do it.
Olga, can I ask you something?
Yes.
About the last step of STEPIC, like there's like something you have to do with somebody from our local YMCA, if I'm not wrong. But
Yes, so there,
yeah, tell me, because I have no idea what to do.
There is a simple checklist on governance, yeah, and we hope that when you reach this last step and after this meeting, you have like more understanding what governance is and can sit together with the leaders of your local YMCA, with the board, maybe even, yeah, and can go through this check and see how you are dealing with governance. Maybe there are some things that you can discuss. Maybe there are some things you can improve. Okay. This is how to say. This is a suggestion to you to complete this task. I mean that if you just feel absolutely out of this topic and you are shocked and scared by it, I mean, we will not kill you for it, but we encourage you. We really encourage to sit together with your local board, because this is about development of your organization. This is a tool to help you to look at the governance of your local life.
Okay. Perfect.
If you do it, we will be so happy. Just drop us some description how it went. Was it useful? Who participated? How it worked?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. We expect actually most of you to complete it, because we are sure that you are a very advanced group.
Yeah, the thing is that when I've read it, I was thinking about my local YMCA. I'm in this program because of the big YMCA in Spain, so I don't know if I have to talk to them. I have to talk to the people in here. I usually talk to my superior, but not with the president, so it's like kind of a mess for me, because I don't know with who I have to talk to. Like if it's locally, I know with who, but I don't know if she's gonna be able
it's
to
locally.
do it.
Of course, those who are involved at the national level and feel confident about it, please do it with the national level. And there is even the example of the health check that we suggested to the national organization, so you can see. But most of you are not involved at the national level. This is the reason why we suggest to work with the local one. All right, yeah. So
I also ask about timetable. So it says on the health check thing that it is fine if you do it by 15th of May. And I was thinking, of course, that I do the health check with my local board, and we have our next meeting on 25th of May. Is it okay if I do it
yes,
then?
sure. Yes,
Okay.
yes, no problem. Yeah, thank you for asking. So, any more questions or feedback you want to share before saying goodbye? Thank you so much. Wishing you a wonderful weekend. Enjoy sunshine, hopefully. Yeah. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your participation. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Thank
take care.
you.
Thanks so much,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.